Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin Stern coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. And I wasn't sure if I would be doing a stream tonight, not knowing what time I will get back from the Veterans Day weekend camp. But we broke camp early, as I stated in the second of the videos that I put up today. And the reasons why we broke camp. But since I got back so early, I figured I'll just go ahead and jump on here and have y'all for dinner. So let's see who we got. Booger Butt and Booger Butt, Curious Pete, Camp Patton Family Compound, Aletha, Angry Blacksmith so far. Thank you all for dropping in. So tonight on the menu is the second of the MCWs that was given to me by Mike. I hope he shows up to see this one opened up and how I intend to play with it. See, it's menu 5, chicken and rice. And as I hinted at, I would be having a little fun with it. So I got my water on the stove to boil for the freeze-dried Maine that's made by Mountain House. This is packed by the Warnick Company. And I'm looking for a date code on here, and Warnick really doesn't date theirs. It'd be nice if they would. Last time I did one of these, the peelable seal didn't. These are a lot thicker bag. I ended up putting my thumb through the bag itself and not opening up the bag like it's supposed to. And see, there it is again. I'm literally putting my finger right through the bag. So, I go to plan B. I'm just going to cut this open right at the seal. And I'll use these scissors again to open up the main. So, and there is Mike. I'm doing the menu 5, as you can see. I'm glad you're here to see me have a little fun with this one. So let's see what we got inside. Cheddar cheese pretzels, otherwise known as combos. I can tell by the shape of them. Another Cran raspberry first strike bar. Awesome. This is the best flavor. Got the spoon, but I will be using this longer one to stir up the main. So we got filled French toast, and it feels like a thick one. And then we got the accessory packet, which I will open up in a few. Chocolate hazelnut cocoa beverage powder. This is a good one. And then the most important part of the meal is this thing right here, the chicken and rice, produced by Mountain House. I'm going to look on one of these things for a date code. The accessory pack will have a date code on it. 8130. So this MCW is from 2018. 130th day was when this one was packed. So go ahead and open this bugger up. Looks like we've got the usual suspects. Gum, Bill's Brew, non-dairy creamer, hot sauce, sugar, none of that artificial sweetener crap, a rear roll, matches, and a wet wipe. And no cold drink in this one. So what I will have to do is I will have to switch up my drinking jar and my cold water for another mug. And I see James Ortiz has dropped in. Thanks for dropping in. And Puppy Breath is here. So let me switch up my drinking jar and the cold water for another mug. Because after what I did last time with one of these, doing too many hot drinks in it, it broke. I'm not doing that again. There we go. I've got another mug. So So in the 4 MRE mug, I'm going to do the coffee. Oh, this creamer did not open right. The tear notch was the seal. Uh-oh. Looks like the Bill's Brew is compromised. I think. Because it was hard. But then again, yeah. I mean, I can't see. I mean, I don't see the black mold. It just might have just had moisture getting to it, which sometimes happens, you know, with these paper packets. It smells like coffee. Yeah, it's just all black. I'm gonna salvage it. What the heck? If it was that dry mold, it would be gray and it would smell strange. It smells just like coffee should. I'm opening up the hazelnut cocoa. It just smells like straight up cocoa instead of the hazelnut. Now I will open up the Mountain House chicken and rice. Oop, I don't think I cut low enough. There we go. There's, let's see, I see Ford in the house, thanks for dropping in. This is what the chicken and rice looks like. Looks like some kind of vegetable maybe pepper. But I said I was going to do something with this chicken and rice. And right just out of range, I have the 3 items that I'm going to put in. I'm going to give this a little bit of a flair. So this is some Garam Masala. I just put this in another bottle. I put a shake of that in. I'm going to make it a curry. This is turmeric. And this is a curry powder. I got some of this and I just put it in these jars. So I'm going to spoon some of that in. I just got these spices from my kitchen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get my hot water. After saying hi to DeCarlos Perry, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to get my hot water and I will start turning all this stuff into dinner. I just poured the water in the mugs off camera just so I don't give you all a steam bath. I'm going to give this thing a mix. Sorry about that. My YouTube app thinks it went vertical instead of horizontal. Because this has rice in it. It's usually the case that rice soaks up a lot more water. In fact, I will throw just a dribble more in there. Now I'm going to put a clip on it because unlike the commercial Mountain House bags, these do not have a seal like the cocoa bag. And I'm going to put it inside this. And I'm shaking it. I will let that sit. I just took my kettle back into the kitchen. Now I will stir the coffee. And then this cup here is the one that I got from Will at Just in Time Prepping, or JIT Preparedness Info. But the design shows it faces you if you hold the mug with your left hand. It's like the... Oop, I think I got a little crazy with stirring it, so I'll be right back. Yeah. Smokey has that mug that has Bob Ross's image on it. But you only see that after you put a hot liquid in there. There you go. You can sort of see the design there. I just put the scissors away since I'm not going to be bothering with them anymore. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up everything else. So here is the combos. And it looks like they took a beating. Yeah, these definitely took a beating because they all should look like this. Sorry, I'm a bit jumpy. I don't know if it's just my Wi-Fi is that bad tonight or what, but I do apologize for that. Sometimes my connection can be a bit strange, but it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and open the filled French toast, which will be a great breakfast item. Now that one came out pretty clean, but look how thick that thing is. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one right there. this thing didn't rip all the way across, but anyway, here is the Cran Raspberry First Strike bar. It's a little bent, but I'll put that right there. And that is it. Let's see, there are spicy tuna rolls. Thanks for dropping in. I'm just going to scroll back through the chat. So for those that have come in late, this is a 2018 Menu 5 MCW, or Meal Cold Weather, chicken and rice, and I have decided to make it a curry because I love a good curry. Why this MCW didn't include a cold drink, I don't know, but it is what it is. I just tasted the cocoa. There's not much of a hazelnut there, but it's still good flavor. If you have ever had Indian food or Middle Eastern food or some Asian foods that do red or green curries, you know, if, for instance, a dish like biryani. It's popular in India and the Middle East. And in the past, during Ramadan, when we have had meals at my mosque, or if someone does a special dinner for instance, the birth of a child, or a wedding, or a funeral, someone might do chicken biryani or beef biryani. And I watched Eats, Treats, and MREs. She had something that had a vegetable biryani or vegetarian biryani in a ration that she reviewed, which is quite interesting. And it looked pretty tasty. So I basically turned, in a sense, this plain chicken and rice into something close to biryani. The only thing I did not have is chickpeas or lentils. But I'm going to go ahead and taste this coffee. Just like Bill's Brew, nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to eat one of these closer to whole combos. And this piece here is an example of what the inside of one looks like. That's the cheese filling inside of a pretzel tube. Unfortunately, a lot of these got messed up, so they took a beating on their way from where this particular MCW originated from to Mike and then to me, so who knows how much it's bounced around. Yep, like I was, Yeah, like I said, these took a serious hit. But this always a winner. Well, Pete, some Indian food is not all that spicy. It just depends on the particular recipe. Biryani is usually not spicy, extremely spicy. You just put enough of the curry in there to give it flavor. And garam masala is hardly ever spicy. If you want it spicy, then you have to put something that has a chili in it. Now, some curries are spicier than others. But years ago, I attended an event with a group that I was with, and they served Indian food. And there was this guy sitting across from me at the table, and we were having a wonderful chicken curry. It wasn't biryani. It was a spicier curry because it had whole chilies in it. And because of the sauce, you really couldn't see the chilies. And some of them, were whole. Some are that big or even or longer. And he is a very, very dark-skinned black guy, really cool dude. And he took a bite. I mean, even with how dark his skin was, he was turning red. I mean, you could almost see the, smoke coming off of his face because that chili was extremely hot. And he took a drink of water, and that just made it worse. So we told him to eat the bread, or I think there's some crackers, or there's some bread, and there's some plain rice too. So we told him to eat something like that to cut the heat because the water just made it worse. But once he got his composure back, I mean, we were all just laughing about it. He was even laughing about it. But that was his first time experiencing Indian food. In fact, that was my first time experiencing authentic Indian food, but it was wonderful. I'm going to take a bite of this. The shininess is like some of the syrup part of the filling coming out. I'll go ahead and break it in half, or at least somewhat. This is a thick bread, so the filling seems kind of thin in this one. But you can still taste the syrupy flavor. I am going to check the chicken and rice. I'm going to give it another mix. It has really thickened up in here. I'm going to taste it, see if it's ready yet. Yep, I think it's ready to come out of the bag. You can still see the original ingredients that are in here. There's a piece of the chicken. It fully rehydrated. That is a piece of red bell pepper. That definitely worked out. The rice is just right where I like it. Not too soft, but not so much bite that it's almost crunchy. So the rice is perfect. There is Sunshine Side of Life 77 in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Oh, bugger. Hope you feel better soon, Rachel. Guess you have to make those doctors and nurses earn their pay. Now, one of the hosts of the camp that I attended this weekend until today, he only came down for a little while, a couple of different times. He brought us eggs, which we ate some, and then Tack actually bought the eggs from him and took home what we didn't eat. I mean, we only ate maybe one carton of eggs between the three of us. But he was sick with the big nasty. He was starting to feel better, but then he got sick again and just couldn't join us for a turkey dinner we had yesterday. Well, Hugo Homestead in the house, thanks for dropping in. But his brother came out and ate with us. In fact, he was the one who smoked the turkey. He has a smoker at his house. So he smoked the turkey for us. So for those just coming in, this is the 2018 MCW Menu 5 chicken and rice, which I turned into a curry by adding a few spices from my kitchen. But then another guy who was supposed to join us doesn't do long distance driving all that well, so he didn't come. But the idea of this camp, since Thursday was Veterans Day, it was to honor people who have served in the U.S. military. So there were two vets who did attend. One could only stay for a little while, and he brought a chocolate mousse cake. But his wife started a new job, so he is having to spend time with the kids at home while she works, and then she is there, when they're not in school, and he's at work. But he did come out and hang with us for a little while, and then a woman who who actually met us there after we got camp set up. She came down, and she's in the Army. So Bearded CB-82 was in the Navy. And Robin, Redbird 491, she was in the Army. And I think another one who was supposed to come, he was, I'm not sure if he was a Marine or in the Army also. But since I was never able to serve, I have family who did. And so we were talking about, those others that we knew who served, and, we keep those conversations to ourselves. But anyway, my step-grandpa on my mom's side was in the Army, and then he went in the Air Force. So he served in the Army in the infantry during World War II, and then he was in the Air Force during the Vietnam War. And then I have a cousin who is a jet fighter mechanic at Eglin Air Base. And when she tested for that job, she tested higher than most of the guys. It showed them up. I wouldn't be surprised if after that some of the guys were intimidated by her. She used to fix family cars back in the day. There was hidden numismatist in the house. Thanks for dropping in. I am chowing down on a 2018 MCW Menu 5 chicken and rice, which I turned into a curry by adding a few spices from my kitchen. There is no cold drink in this one, so I have 2 hot drinks. Well, I hope you do feel better soon, Rachel. Like I said, make those doctors and nurses earn their pay. So this included this hot sauce. This one has cayenne pepper, vinegar, salt, and garlic. That's the ingredients of this hot sauce. But I don't feel like adding hot sauce to this because I think it would mess up the flavor of my garam masala and curry that I put in it. If I did not add my own spices, I may have put the hot sauce in it. But I actually like this better. No, I'm not watching Yellowstone. I'm not close enough to watch that park. I'm here in Iowa. I don't have a telescope, let alone one that could allow me to see that far away. So someone else will have to watch it for me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, some fresh chives would probably be good on this, but you know, I don't have any. So I'm not able to add any fresh in. I only had 2 of my chive seeds sprout. And so when I harvested my herbs, I gave both of those plus some of my oregano, cilantro, and basil to my mom. I think I may have had too many seeds in those little pots, so I'm definitely going to try something different in the spring. And since I got some new seeds from Ginger Ninja during the seed swap, so I drank of the coffee, I'm going to try some of those. I can't watch a lot of that stuff. For one thing, I don't own a TV. And I don't care to. I don't have Netflix. I don't have Roku. I do have Hulu, but I really haven't watched much on it. I tried to watch Eating History, but I would have had to upgrade my Hulu plan in order to get access to that, and I just didn't want to do that. I just may drop the Hulu since I really haven't watched it much. I just watch YouTube stuff. That's pretty much it. Yeah, my cable is strictly internet. And well, for some reason, I plugged into my power station and my phone, or I guess it shut off even though it's got like 3 bars, so I don't know if it's, and it said my phone was low on battery, but I just hit the button on my power station, my little tack life. I did that and my Kindle turned back on because when it'll turn on automatically if whatever it's plugged into, like a power bank is turned on or my I plug it into another power source, it'll turn on automatically. Yeah, cable here is from Mediacom, but I'd rather have it for internet than the company that will remain nameless because their DSL sucks and they will not run fiber optic to this part of Des Moines. I'm going to shut that thing off so it won't keep popping notifications. There we go. Actually, I'll just unplug it. It's fully charged anyway, so I just unplugged it from my little power station, which I took camping, and that's what I use to recharge my phones that I use to record the little bit of video that I shot, plus take some pictures which I posted on Facebook. Tack and I were the only ones who did any video shooting. I don't think Robin did, but see, I got my videos up. So Tack will probably have hers up in the next day or two because she's got other videos that she shot that she needs to edit when she's not at work. She did edit a couple of videos on her phone, a couple of short ones, while we were just kind of lazing in the big bell tent that she brought that can accommodate a wood stove. So we had the wood stove, but it was so windy that for the first couple of nights we didn't dare use it. But Saturday, yesterday and today we used it. But I was originally going to take my Eureka tent that one of my sisters gave me, but when she told me about that tent that she can put a wood stove in, plus she had her buddy heater. So we used that as our heat source. In the tent, but we still had a fire in the fire pit that is there. There is King Poobah in the house. Thanks for dropping in. But on Facebook, I posted a couple of pictures of the meal that we had. We kind of had a mini turkey dinner. But there were just 4 of us who ate that, and I brought some of the turkey home. And then we shared some. I only heated up part of the refried beans I took that we had for Friday night's supper. So the rest is I opened 2 cans of refried beans and put it in a container because I didn't want to deal with the can weight. So I got those beans in my fridge, and I'll just heat them up. I'll probably have them with some of that turkey. But today for lunch, I just cooked up the rest of the beef breakfast sausages that I didn't eat at camp. And then tomorrow I'll probably, I might also cook the rest of my beef bacon. Part of it was used to wrap around some cream cheese filled jalapenos. Ooh, those are good. Yeah, puppy breath. If you go to a Middle Eastern grocery store, you can find it. But the one I prefer to get is from a company that's based right here in Iowa called Minimar. And you might be able to order from minimar.com, but I don't know if you have to have a minimum order of it. or you can just order a bunch of their stuff and they send it to you frozen. But yeah, the beef bacon is pretty good. My mom likes it. You might even check Amazon, because sometimes I've seen Myanmar products there. But they do ground beef, ground turkey, ground lamb. And they do the turkey bacon. They do another kind of a beef strip that's sort of like the beef bacon, but they call it sandwich strips. And they also do pre-made burger patties. And they do the beef hot dogs, chicken hot dogs, turkey hot dogs. They also do some like beef hot links. They're about as big as a brat, but they're a bit spicy, but they're good. Yeah, scrapple is one thing I have never had. But from what I understand, there are probably so many variations of scrapple, like they are for a gumbo or jambalaya. Oh, I bet it is. And there are probably tons of videos on YouTube about scrapple. I'm not ignoring the rest of this. I just want to chow down on this curry chicken and rice. Now, if it's made with beef or any meat other than pork, it'd probably be right up my alley. I mean, Friday night we had, Tack made some ground venison into like a taco filling, and we had tortillas. And then I had the refried beans. I had some cheese, and we had some onions, bell peppers. And I had a container that I had a can of Rotel tomatoes. Plus I added a fresh tomato that I diced up on top of that. I have some of that left, and I have a bag full of diced up bell peppers. We already had enough of the bell peppers, so it didn't need mine, so I'll probably just throw mine on a dehydrator. Yeah, like I said, you can probably use any meat in scrapple, just like you can with you know, gumbo, jambalaya, or even paella, the traditional Spanish dish. Most paella recipes focus on the seafood, like mussels, clams, oysters, shrimp. But you can have other meats in there. And if you can afford it, you put saffron in it to give the yellow color. But if you can't afford saffron, that's what you do. Turmeric will get you that yellow. Yep. And that's the way to do it. You stretch your food out any way you can. And if things start going south, we may have to go back to stuff like that. In fact, there's a kind of a video hashtag going around that prep for it. You know, the channel name PREP number 4 IT. Her name is Tasha. She started something with, I'd have to look at her channel for the specific videos, but what you do is you take some of your non-perishable foods and you create a dish with it with only a few ingredients. But I have an idea for that, and when I did my shopping haul, I actually picked up one ingredient that I really didn't have a whole lot of. I ended up buying 2 cans, one can from one place and the other can from another place. So ended up with 2 cans of chickpeas, but I'll probably only use one. But I will reveal that later. And it's something that I did with ration components plus a couple of my own additions when Minotaur Trading Company had a ration component cooking contest, and I got an honorable mention for my chicken biryani. Although Bob personally didn't like it when he tried to recreate it. He and the other judges still thought it was very creative, what I did. You know, it's something that a lot of people wouldn't think of. But, you know, having eaten the kinds of food that I've been experiencing over the past several years, you know, I've gotten a wider palate. I've experienced different flavors than I've had before. Thanks for coming in, Ford. I hope you are able to get some good sleep. And also to Mike, thanks for dropping in. And again, thanks for getting me this chicken and rice so I could review it and play with it. You know, when, like I said, when I opened that box and saw that in there, I thought, oh yeah, I am going to have some fun with this. Hola, Chicago. Have gone curry tonight. The otherwise plain MCW chicken and rice got jazzed up. Garam Masala, which is a spice blend. I threw in a little bit of turmeric and a rice curry powder. Although you can use these curry powders on pretty much anything. There's no one curry. There's a whole bunch of spice blends that make up the curries, and the same with garam masala. You know, it's the same with the Mexican mole. You know, there is no one mole in Mexico. Each area will have a more popular mole style or recipe than another. You know, for instance, Guadalajara, people in Guadalajara might like one kind of mole, whereas the people, say, in Oaxaca or Veracruz, they might like a different kind of mole. Yep, this is the Cran Raspberry First Strike bar. It is the best flavored First Strike bar. Yeah, it's fruity, it's crispy. I would like to see more fruity flavors of the First Strike bars. Let's see. Gotta scroll back. So Booger Butt and Booger Butt dropping out. Again, thanks for dropping in. Now next week will be a standard MRE. So I don't know if it will be the one that I rated the chicken chunks out of to add to that spinach fettuccine, and then I substituted another main for the chicken chunks that I took out of that one. That one does not have a flameless ration heater. Not that I would need it anyway, because I normally don't use them here at home because I'm at home and I don't need to use it, so I save them. But I threw in another main in there, and then I have an older tan bag MRE that I could pull out. And then after that one, I will do the Arctic Field Ration from Minotaur Trading Company. And then after that, I will have the Polish Shooter's Ration, which was supposed to be the off-road ration, but the seller sent me the wrong one, and I have not heard anything from the seller about. Of course, I haven't checked my email since I got back from camp. when I got signal on the way home, I just sent a message to Willie since he got sick and couldn't join us for dinner last night. But his brother came instead. You know, Willie has the big nasty, and it's knocking him for a loop. Oh, I had chicken mole when I was in Guadalajara back in '86, and it was at the house that I was staying in. Either our host, the wife made it or the maid made it. I don't remember who, because they did not eat with us. The students who were staying in that house, we ate by ourselves, and then the couple who owns the house, they would either eat separate or they would eat at a different time. But they would make sure that we had enough food and that we liked it. And if they heard us talking English, they would remind us to talk in Spanish. Since that's what we were down there for. I can probably go to La Tapatia and either buy a ready-made mole, or I can probably buy a powdered mix. Yeah, mole is a Mexican sauce that uses cocoa powder, unsweetened, with other spices. And as I said earlier, there are different versions of mole, just like there are different versions of curries. There's different versions of Garam Masala. There are different versions of all kinds of regional spice blends from other countries or regions. And mole is one of those things. Just like there's different versions of jambalaya or gumbo or paella. But that chicken mole I had in Guadalajara, that was absolutely awesome. I would say muy delicioso. If you learn these things, like when I used to watch TV a lot, there was this show on Food Network called Spice Goddess, and she was originally from India, and she is a chef who focused on Indian cuisine, and she would put together different garam masala blends and curry blends and other spice mixes for whatever recipe she was doing when she needed that type of thing, in addition to making a paratha, which is kind of like a potato bread. that is flat like maybe an extra thick tortilla or as thick as a common pancake. I have never had chilaquiles, but that sounds wonderful. There are a lot of things that I did not get to experience when I was in Mexico because, I had group activities outside of the 2 classes that I took while I was down there. But I did have a carrot soup one night, and I have tried to recreate that a couple of times, but that was a fail. Both times, so I do want to try it again. But I just didn't get the carrots blended fine enough, and I needed more broth in it. I mean, I got kind of the flavor that I wanted, but I didn't get the smooth consistency that I wanted, but I'm not going to give up. I'll try it again one day. Thanks for dropping in. I can probably find that Doña Maria and La Tapatía. Have a good night, Puppy Breath. Hope to see you again next week. Or if not earlier, next time Ration Museum has a stream. Yeah, I looked for Sean to be on today, but he wasn't on, not that I could tell. Not here. We don't have anything like that here in Des Moines, Chicago, so I can't help you with that. But I'm not too far from La Tapatía. I could walk over there if I wanted to. And then there's a much smaller store nearby where I lived before I moved into this apartment. It was a smaller bodega type of store that I did visit a few times when I was in Mexico. I would get out of the bus, and instead of going straight to the house, I would divert over to this little bodega that I had passed by, and I would duck in there and buy me a snack or an apple soda. Ketchup and lime flavored corn chips. I miss those things. Yeah, I could do some searching for things like that. Yeah, the brand that I had in Mexico was called Aga, AGA, but I cannot find that online. But there are other brands that I have seen online, and there is one by Jarritos. So I could get that one. I just haven't yet. But I will try it and see how that is and see if it's like the taste that I remember that Aga had. I mean, that tastes like a natural apple, like they use real apple juice in it instead of some artificial apple flavoring. I've had a couple other Jarritos flavors. I like the pineapple one or piña. And the orange one is good. I'm not old enough for the sangria soda. I'm only 55. So I'll have to pass on that one. I'm just nibbling on these busted combos. I don't drink alcohol anyway. Now that I just picked up was just a lump of the cheese filling without any of the pretzel around it. But these are still good. Oh, bugger, I missed a super chat. So I did not see that super chat come in. And I probably can't scroll back far enough to see who dropped that super chat. But anyway, I want to thank the person who did drop that super chat. That's much appreciated. I must have missed it when I was looking away from my screen. I do apologize for that. But again, whoever dropped that super chat, that's much appreciated. I put all of my YouTube revenue back into the channel. Either buying gear to test or rations to review. Oh yeah, chili rellenos. That's another good one. Yeah, most likely, if it was under the Sleepy Dog name, that would have been Art doing that. Sleepy Dog Construction is Art's construction channel where he shows cement pours and other construction projects, which I enjoy watching. Well, that's what we had last night was cream cheese stuffed jalapeno halves. And then some were wrapped in pork bacon. And then some were wrapped in my beef bacon. So the person who put those together made up 6 of those that were wrapped in the beef bacon for me, and then the other 3 who were eating a dinner Saturday night, they had the pork ones. And they were cooked in the smoker along with the turkey. But because they were covered with only a few holes poked in the foil, the bacon didn't get crispy, but that's okay because what was good is you dip your pieces of turkey into that broth that developed from the rendered bacon fat, or maybe some of the juices from the jalapenos. You dip your piece of turkey meat in that. That's like gravy. Now, we do not have a Kroger here in Iowa. When I was in Arkansas back in the mid-'80s, and then when we would visit my parents while they were living there after they retired, there was a Kroger there in Hot Springs, Hot Springs Village, that people shopped in down there. Plus the Walmart after it came into town. There was another grocery store there, but the Walmart ran them out. But the Kroger remained. But I don't know if it's still there or if it's only Walmart. But, yeah, so I have been in the Kroger. But we don't have that here in Iowa. The main stores here are the Hy-Vee chain, which is based out of West Des Moines, which is a suburb of Des Moines. When the Dolls store chain closed up, some of those were converted to Price Chopper, and others were converted into something like Money Saver or something like that. And then we used to have a Save-A-Lot, but I think they changed hands. I don't know what it is now because I haven't taken a bus by there in a while. Then we have Aldi. We used to have Albertsons, but they went belly up around here anyway. Or they just didn't do so well here, so the corporate took down those stores. Then, of course, Target has... Some Targets have grocery areas. Walmart, we have Whole Foods, but I can't get to them by bus. We have we have a lot of smaller stores like Gateway Market. And then we have the ethnic stores like Hello Groceries or La Tapatía, Jung's Oriental Food Store, and New Oriental Food Store, which is actually not that new, but it's still called new. I don't know why. But, we have stores like that. We don't have anything like a Big Lots or... some places have what's like a store that will take product from other stores that just doesn't sell and then resell it. Kind of like a salvage store for groceries. Yeah, we don't have anything like that here that I know of, but we do have a decent variety here. But it's fun to go check out places that are out of your, maybe not necessarily comfort zone, but out of your norm. Yeah, we have a Fairway also. In fact, there are two of them. There is one that I get to by bus when I happen to feel like going over to that area. Then there's another one, but I don't know the address of it or whether it's on a bus route or not, so I just don't bother. In fact, we were talking about Fairway at camp. You know, Robin looked for something. She saw something at Fairway. That was a good deal, so she pounced on it. But when she went to the other Fairway, the one that I can get to by bus, its price was higher. So the one that she bought that particular item at, yeah, that was a better deal. So even within a store chain, not all prices can be the same. There's another store that, actually we have a couple others here in the area, but I've never been to it. One is called Fresh Time Market. And then the other one is called Dollar Fresh. But Fresh Time, they used to call themselves Farmers Market, but I think they took some heat for that because it's not a true farmers market. Not in a traditional sense that small farmers would bring their produce or their meat or their eggs or their cheese to an area, set up a booth or a stand and alongside others and just start selling their stuff. So because I don't know where these other places are, I don't know what they're like. One of my sisters has gone to the Fresh Time, and time is spelled like the herb Thyme, kind of a play on words. She has shopped over there. You know, she can drive over there to get what she wants from there. But I haven't bothered to look to see if it's on a bus route or the same with that Dollar Fresh that I hear advertised on one radio station that I listen to in the mornings. I have no experience with them. And I haven't been in an Aldi in quite some time. Yeah, totally different. But speaking of speaking of Dollar Tree, there's noise about that chain changing their format to $1 is the minimum price. So they're upping their prices on some items while still giving you less product for whatever price. Like one video I watched, the person showed those small bottles of Dawn dish soap. The bottle looked like it was only 3/4 full instead of nearly up to the top. It was the same price, but you get less product. And I've noticed that when I buy bags of chips. The bag says party size, but that's what used to be the family size bag. And the party size bag would be like closer to the size that you get at like Sam's Club or Costco. Maybe not quite that big, but still, the party size used to be bigger than the family size. So yeah, they call that shrinkflation. By the way, heat this up, it's even better. And another video I watched, someone who picked up some food items at a Dollar Tree, the can of the luncheon meat that's like a Spam knockoff, it was only 7 ounces instead of 12 ounces or what the normal Spam can is. So the size of that shrunk down. From the former size that they used to sell it. And of course, everywhere you see those pop cans, soda cans, they're not 12 ounces, they're like, I think, 8 ounces. I call them mini cans. But I've been seeing a lot more of those. But everybody is seeing that. Yeah, I don't see Shasta much, but then I don't go to the store where I can usually buy it, but I might have to go because I think Price Chopper sells Shasta, or at least they used to. So maybe next month when I do my major grocery shopping, I might have to go to Price Chopper because I haven't been in there in quite some time. And see what kind of stuff they have. But yeah, I drank a lot of Shasta back in the day. But, Shasta made a lot of flavors. Yep. I remember those days too. And when I was in high school, we had a snack bar that had been run for decades by high school students, and after buying the inventory, all the profits were saved for the senior class to go towards the senior class trip. So there would be different fundraisers in order to get the money for these trips. And then the school would pay for the chaperones, a couple of teachers or other staff who would accompany the students on the trip, and they would arrange for the transportation. Like on our trip, because we had a student who uses a wheelchair, we had to get a bus that had a lift in it. But unfortunately, that driver, well, she didn't do everything on the up and up. When it came to the toilet, the bus had its own bathroom in it. And she was late a couple of times, for getting us to where we were going to go for a particular activity. But the bus itself was pretty darn cool. It had a TV in it. So if we couldn't get any TV channels, we could watch movies. Or listen to the radio. But there was, it was kind of like a mini version of like a Greyhound or Trailways or maybe one of those custom buses. It had overhead storage like you would find in a plane. And you could recline the seats. I mean, it was a pretty nice bus. It's just that the driver was a little sketchy. I mean, she was a good driver. It's just that, there are some things that she didn't do right. And we had similar experience when I was with another group and we traveled to Chicago and South Bend Indiana. And that driver, when we were off doing something, she literally emptied out the tank just on the side of the road and not at a proper facility where you're supposed to dump the toilet tanks. Needless to say, the company got an earful from us about that. Plus, she didn't want to go on our schedule because we had a very tight schedule to go on, and she didn't want to follow it. Well, this other trip was not, we weren't a bunch of kids on this trip. We were, adults. I think we might have had one teen who was actually a member of the group, but the rest were adults up in even their 50s and 60s. But when a group with a tight schedule hires a driver, the driver is supposed to follow the itinerary of the group, not the other way around. It's not, we weren't just a bunch of tourists out, sightseeing. We had specific activities that we were doing, which required that we had to be at certain places at certain times. And she really didn't want to get us there at that time. And she was confused when we were going on a toll road through Chicago. She had no clue which lane she was supposed to drive in, because I think there are different toll rates for different types of vehicles. She had no clue if we were supposed to go in the lane that cars and, small trucks like pickup trucks would go through, or if we were supposed to go in the commercial vehicle lane or what. She had no clue. And we ended up in the wrong lane. But being a big bus, it's harder for a bus to get out of that and to go into the right one. But that particular toll worker, I think, had to call for someone to figure out what our toll was to be for a full busload of people as opposed to a small car. Yeah, that was an interesting trip. Plus, when we were at one of the locations for an activity and we were getting ready for it, the lights went out. A storm had knocked out power to that particular neighborhood. So being that this is in the 90s, 97, you know, no, not too many people were carrying flashlights unless it was job specific. You know, we didn't have cell phones with cameras and little lights on it. You know, we didn't have any of that to help us out. We just kind of hung out and waited for the power to come back on so we could resume doing what we were doing. But fortunately, the power was only off for maybe about 15, 20 minutes. Oops, sorry, I got briefly interrupted. Sorry about that. So I was about to say that was an interesting trip. I haven't had too many other weird trips like that. But who knows, maybe I'll experience some more of that and sometime. But when we were driving down to Oklahoma back in when I was in high school to visit some longtime family friends who lived in a suburb of Oklahoma City called Edmond, we almost got lost and ended up on a highway that was going to take us down into Texas. So when we noticed a sign that said, whoever saw the sign just saw Texas. Oh crap! This is right. We gotta get out of here. So we had to backtrack and get back on the right road to get to Oklahoma City, and then we could get to Edmond from there. So that was kind of interesting. Good thing we didn't get any farther than we did. But that was in December, and that particular year, it was very warm down there, and we had packed winter clothes. I did have one light summer shirt, but it was a long sleeve shirt. But I had a winter coat that I could zip the sleeves out. So I did that. And on a couple of days, we had no coats on at all. I mean, for us, it was like summer. And speaking of weather, tomorrow's supposed to be 55 here in Des Moines. And on Tuesday, it's supposed to be in the 60s. So that'll be a definite change from this weekend, because although Thursday is pretty nice, and then Thursday night and all day Friday, the wind was just going nuts, and we ended up stringing 2 tarps, one tarp that I brought, and then a tarp that Tech had brought around our the woodshed that is down there at the place where we camp. And we use those tarps to block the wind so it wouldn't just make our fires go absolutely crazy, because that forest is mostly pine and cedar, and with all the needles and cones on the ground, if it's dry enough, an errant spark could catch those pine needles and cones and just basically light that whole forest up. Wow, still, of course, you're 2 hours behind me, because right now it's close to 9 o'clock, so it's almost 7 your time there in California. So I'm pretty sure it's still pretty warm there. No offense, but I think I'm going to stay right here in Iowa. I'm used to the weather up here, having grown up in Nebraska and Iowa. I only spent a few years in Arkansas after high school, but after I finished college down there, I missed Iowa so much, so I just wanted to come back, so I did. And of course, back in '08, shortly before my dad died, my parents came back here to Iowa because my dad wanted to be up here with all of us when his time did come, after he got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So we made that happen for him. And so after a few years of living with my sister, switching off between houses, my mom finally got into her own apartment. But we still help her out. One of my sisters will do her grocery shopping for her. My sisters take her to her appointments because my mom doesn't drive. And walking is getting a lot harder for her. Yeah, she lives across the street from a grocery store, but the problem was her building is at the back of the apartment complex property, and it's at the bottom, and she would have to walk up a pretty long, steep hill just to get to the street, and then have to cross the street. And she just can't handle that hill. So my sisters take her to wherever she needs to go, or one of my sisters does the grocery shopping for her. And then we'll go over there every so often, say if my mom needs something done that we help her with, so we do. Yeah, Shadow Scout Sweet in the house. Sorry you missed most of the food. I'm just munching on my filled French toast. This is my dinner. This is from 2018. Instead of leaving it the way it was, the chicken and rice, Yeah, I went into my kitchen. I threw a bit of each of those in. Yeah, the garam masala, some turmeric, and some curry. So I made it a curry chicken and rice. This particular menu, the chicken and rice is not seasoned like, see, there's an Oriental style chicken and rice, there's a Mexican style chicken and rice, and then there's this plain one that has some bell peppers, the chicken, and maybe a bit of carrot. But when I saw this particular one in a box, I thought, I am going to have some fun with this. I'm going to jazz this one up. And so that's what I did. And this one didn't come with a cold drink. It had the coffee, and it had a hazelnut cocoa. This one doesn't have a whole lot of the hazelnut flavor, but it's still good nonetheless. And it had the cheese-filled pretzels, which here are called combos, when they're the round pretzel tube with the filling in it. Those were pretty much all busted up. And had a cranberry or cran raspberry first strike bar. And then this filled French toast, which would usually be a breakfast item. At least I would eat this for breakfast. Heat it up. These are really good when they're warm. But I wasn't sure if I would be on tonight because I had no idea what time we would be getting back to Des Moines from the place where we camped. But it got really windy overnight and it rained. But the tent that Tack and I slept in, her bell tent, that really held up to the wind. And we even had a little bit of snow Friday morning. And again, there was a little bit Friday afternoon. And then there was a little bit of rain in between the snowflakes. But that tent really held up. And even though the ground was soft, those stakes that came with that tent, they're beefy. And they held. So someone had sent her that bell tent, and then she got a stove to go with it. But we also had one of those Mr. Heater, the Buddy heaters that uses the 1 pound green propane bottles or tanks. But if you get an adapter hose, you can connect that to a much larger propane tank, and you could run that thing longer than, say, between 2 and 4 hours on one of those little green ones. That here we can buy them at Walmart or similar stores, maybe camping supply stores, or home improvement stores might sell them. But we had both heat sources, but when it was super windy, we only used a little heater. But it would run for a couple hours or however long until the propane tank ran out, and then a few hours Later, Tack would get up and put another one on. For instance, like if she had to get up and to go pee, then she'd come back in and put another tank on the heater. But yesterday morning, we had the little wood stove going, and that got it warm enough in there where we didn't have to have our coats on or have our winter hats on. And we would have the coffee pot on there and have our coffee right there in the tent before we even got out to go to the fire pit to make breakfast. And then last night we had it fired up when the three of us who came down from Des Moines and one of the guys who lives on the property that we camped on and who also smoked the turkey for us. Yes, he smoked the whole turkey in his smoker. And oh boy, was that good. In fact, I brought a little bit of that turkey home, so it's in my fridge. But that was a delicious, juicy turkey. But his brother, who was originally going to come over to our camp and eat with us, well, he got sick from the big nasty. Again, he's been dealing with that for several months. But he did come over for a couple of times, so we would chat, and he brought us some eggs from his own chickens. Well, that takes care of the coffee. Nothing like fresh eggs not too long out of the bird. But we had those for breakfast. Actually, we made them for lunch. Now, I guess it was breakfast, but we tried something different. The Ziploc freezer bags, you put your stuff for your omelet in the bag. You shake it up, mix it up, and then you put it in a pot of water, and you literally cook it in the bag, like, see that boiling bag rice? And you have the bag open just a little bit to vent. But my bag kind of sprung a leak, but it got rescued. I didn't lose much of my omelet in the bag. I put some of my beef breakfast sausage in there. I cut it up. Now we had bell peppers, we had tomatoes, we had onions, mushrooms, potatoes, and cheese. We put all that in there. But as long as your bag is just open a little bit at the top and the flame doesn't actually hit the bag, it will work. I mean, you could do it on your stovetop. In fact, we had one of the, Tack had her little, it's a stove that's kind of like a jet boil, but not as expensive. but her gas tank ran out. And then another one she was going to try. Well, the threads are broken, so she couldn't use it. So, well, I'll get you mine. So she put my little propane can, those little small ones that are maybe about that tall. They hold supposed to be like 8 ounces of, they call it like isobutane, but it's a propane butane blend. It's the kind you put on a jet boil or a pocket rocket, any of those kinds of stoves, the little camp stoves. And so anyway, I gave her my gas, and she put that on there. But because it was so cold and windy, it just wasn't getting the water to a boil. So then we had the fire going, so got a pot and put it in there and did it that way. But she said she would buy me another gas can if she ran it out, but she didn't. There's still some in there. So I probably got another couple of uses out of that thing left before it's dead. But if you're careful when you're doing that, and you literally eat it right out of the bag, and it doesn't spring a leak on you, all you have to do, you throw away the bag, and all you have to do is clean off your spoon. And that was Robin's idea. Redbird 491. So she figured out how to do that, and then so we tried it. And for the most part, it worked. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was her bag that almost melted because it was getting hit by the flames from the fire, or mine sprung a leak, but it was caught in time before I lost my goods. But yeah, if you're careful, it will work, but I really don't have any plans on trying it because, for one thing, I don't want to waste bags doing that. And I would rather save something like that for, a trip. Even though I took dishes to eat out of, for the most part, we use paper plates. But overall, that was a very fun camp, and I think after I finish this stream, I might go check Tech's channel to see if she has her camp video up. She's got tomorrow off, so I think she's gonna spend a day, just hanging out with Brenda and the 2 pups and editing videos. And planning future trips. Well, that's it. All done. Yeah, Yeah, those stoves really don't work all that well in cold weather, so it would sputter a bit. And I tried to, yeah, I got my stove going. Gonna heat some, I was heating some water, I think for, I was heating some water because I was gonna make one of my dehydrated or freeze-dried Minotaur Trading Company entrees that I took with me for, I think it was Friday, no, it was Thursday lunch, because we actually got there, Tack and I got there in the morning, and Robin came later, and then we busted out our own food for, we just basically dug into our own food bags for lunch. So I heated up my water for my lunch, and even though I put my windscreen around my stove, it wasn't helping it much, because for one thing, my windscreen is too short. I need to make a taller one. But that will be a future project. Yeah, I've heard about people doing that, but yeah, I left mine out by the fire pit instead of taking it into the tent, where it would have a better chance of staying warmer. But the next trip that I know that I will be doing, hopefully in March of next year, I should have a better windscreen. I will make a taller one. I'll probably use the same method that I did for my current one, but just make it taller so that it covers up the whole burner and maybe partially up whatever pot or cup I put on it. And I have an idea of what I'm going to do. See, I made my current windscreen out of the heavy-duty foil lids that go with those really long foil pans that are probably as wide as, they're as long as this table is wide. Sometimes they would be referred to as hotel pans, because they're the size that will fit in the steam tables of a restaurant. So I may buy one of those pans and make my next windscreen out of it. But I used the lid for the one that I have now, but I folded it in half, and then I used that foil tape to tape over the edges, to kind of stiffen up the edges of it a little bit. So I think if I use the actual pan itself, I should be able to make a taller one. But that will be a project for another day. So as I said earlier, next week will be a USMRE, either the one that I took the chicken chunks out of that I added to the MRA I did with the spinach fettuccine. Since that one is a vegetarian one, I took the chicken chunks and added that to that spinach fettuccine. And I substituted another chicken entree into that one that I took the chicken chunks out of. I also have an older tan bag MRE that I could open up. So I'll decide between those two. And then after that, I have a Minotaur Arctic field ration, which will be another freeze-dried. And then after that will be the Polish ration. The one that was sent to me in error. I was supposed to get a different one, but the seller sent me the wrong one. And I have not heard from that seller what he was going to do about it. But I'm not sending it back. I'm keeping it. I'm going to open up that thing and I'm going to enjoy it because I had one of those rations before, but this one is a different menu. So I'm looking forward to digging into that one. But I think that's going to be it for me for tonight. I've gone over 2 hours, so... But I don't mind just chatting it up with you. But anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one good. Well, I do have a whole bunch of ration stuff. I was going to do another round of ration mashups, but I just never got to it because I just kept getting rations to review. So I may dig into that stuff and just put something together. I could still call it a mashup. But who knows? But anyway, I do want to thank you all for watching. And again, thanks to the person who kindly dropped that super chat earlier that I missed. So, again, next week, a tan bag MRE, either a newer one or an older one. But I will figure that one out later. So again, thanks for watching and catch you on the flip side.